Are you ready?
Yeah.
You sure you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to do what we do. Late Ill Kid at OneYoungsta. Hold it down. Bring it in StreetGeek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today, coming with another wonderful episode of Loungin. That's right. We made it. We are here again. It's Friday. What's up, NERDSoul? Like, how you doing?
Good.
Lady Lisa, say hey.
Hey, y'all.
Word up, word up. We got Alan Lewis up in the chat. What up, what up? Good to see your sun's shiny face. And anyone who's watching this on the replay as well. I want to give a big shout out to the Patreon supporters on the channel, like Panda, like Jamal Lee, like Tim I, like Enrique Carrion, like Thought Crimes, like y'all, man, y'all be holding the brother down. So with that said, we've got some fun stuff to get into. Well, man, it might not be fun, but we got some stuff to get into today.
Ain't nothing fun about none of this.
I wanna start with the children because I do believe that they are our future. I believe if we teach them well
and let them lead the way,
we can show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Give them a sense.
Give them a sense
of pride.
So you guys know Betsy DeVos out there in them streets trying to get y'all to go back to school.
Demanding.
Y'all better go back to school. We ain't gonna give y'all no money. So Lisa, who was an educator before me, my grandmother, my mother were educators. I became an educator, but Lisa was an educator before I was. How are you seeing this?
Simply put, these children do not need to go back to school. It's been a lot out there, Facebook and everywhere about it, but I think the one comment I've seen or one post I've seen that sums it up best is if administration and board members are having meetings via Skype or via Zoom or whatever to discuss the kids going back to school because it isn't safe to have a meeting in person to discuss the kids going back to school, then maybe the kids shouldn't be going back to school.
All right, cool. So you're like, kids need to stay home, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I'm like, kids need to stay home. Here's why. They're like, there's been a whole bunch of stuff like, oh, well, don't worry. Kids ain't dying from it. First thing, that's not true. This is a misnomer. There are some children that are dying from this. Also, remember, kids don't live on their own. Kids have to go there with teachers that work with them that are older, that might have pre-existing conditions, might be immunocompromised. The kids might be immunocompromised. Then the lunch lady, the janitors or the custodians or the principals or the administration, office ladies or whatever. All them people, guess what, are not kids and may have some pre-existing conditions that could mix in a very bad way with COVID-19. Then, on that, you want to add in the fact that school, depending on age, is already a breeding ground for all kinds of germs.
Yep.
All kinds of germs.
Yep.
For the young little ones, it's the snotty nose and giving each other high fives and sharing food and all kinds of
playing
stuff.
In each other's hair and holding hands. And
holding hands right after you're done snot sneezed up.
Just a petri dish.
Just nasty. Then, in high school, you got a whole bunch of relationships. People starting to fit entanglements, where things like strep might go around. And due to the newness of COVID-19, we don't know what strep and COVID will do to your body. We don't know. Also, we're going to be getting back into fall and winter. Do we know what COVID plus the common cold will do to someone? Do we know what COVID plus the flu will do to someone? I think we're getting way ahead of ourselves with trying to force kids to go back to school. because these kids are then also, remember, going to come back home to their families, and their families will, guess what, go to work. Let me play out a scenario. And by no means am I a healthcare professional, but I've been to work and I've caught a cold from work. I go to work, I get a cold. My kid goes to school, gets COVID-19. We come together. Now you got COVID and the cold in the same house. So look, there's so many ways for this to go wrong, and it already has, and school isn't even in session. So when you're looking at stuff like that, it's like, dude, we've got to respect this for what it is.
Yeah, and the thing is, the thing that's really even crazier about it is in the interviews I've seen of Betsy DeVos in her talking, she does not have a plan. She's not interested in trying.
Her plan is go back to school.
She's not interested in coming up with any type of general guidelines. She's not interested in coming up with any.
Nope.
She's not giving you any. She y'all figure that out. Her answer in general is, when she's asked about, what are your general guidelines, she's like, oh, well, every school will be different. Every area will be different. Well, they're not different enough for you to say everybody don't need to open. Yeah. But I love how you want to say everybody needs to go back to school and y'all figure out how to make it work. That's pretty much what she's saying.
Yes.
And those aren't guidelines. Also,
remembering on top of this, a big issue with I got you. I got you. I got you. You relax. I got you. The problem with let's treat this state like this and let's treat this state like that is due to something called commerce, travel, goods and services. So, with that said, just because it's not popping in, say, I don't know, Kansas, doesn't mean it can't get popping in Kansas, because people move, people travel. You also have truckers driving, shipping goods and stuff. There are ways that you can bring this to another place. It's cool. It's okay. So there's other ways that this can go bad for everyone. And with that said, you have to sit around and ask, what is the reason for going to school when we've been doing online classes and distance style learning already? Why are you pushing so hard to get people back in school? Now, I don't know the answer to that, but we should probably ask those types of questions. Now, big shout out to the chat. We not only got Alan Lewis, we got Markeith Collins up in here. We got Cooley High in the house. We got Vivi. What up? We got Jenna James in the house. Vivi says virtual learning, stay home children. Yes. And Jenna James says my pharmacy health admin program is making us stay online, except for lab days and exam days. But it's a tentative, and they'll make a definite decision by the first week of August. So yeah, it's one of those things where people are taking it seriously, and then you look at folks and you're like, well, why aren't you? What has to be behind this? And the illest part about this is, in the midst of all this, we still have the school to prison pipeline. So go with me for a second, because we be one, we black out here. So here's where I'm going. Black parents, for the most part, you've already been homeschooling your children. You've been homeschooling them. You've been making it work. I'd like to submit to you, I'd like to propose that you keep your kids out of school and homeschool them permanently. Get your kids out of that system. Get your kids away from those people that, as you can see right now, seem to be using them as bargaining chips and or pawns. And who knows where this or these decisions may lead them or you. So I'm going to keep it real with y'all. I'd probably say it's a good look right now for y'all to think, at least seriously consider trying to homeschool your children, or trying to create a co-op in your close community, maybe your block, your 2 blocks, your neighborhood or whatever, to school the kids in your community without having to send them to public school or some private school or whatever that's trying to reopen or whatever, where it can be like 2 or 3 kids as opposed to 30 kids in a class. You know what I'm saying?
If it's co-op of 15, you know what I mean? That that's a great improvement. And I'll say this, I know I've told you this several times, Michael. My prediction is this. At this point, I really feel like there's going to be this huge flux in parents, deciding to homeschool, figuring it out, homeschool, whether it's on their own or via a co-op. And what's going to happen is there's going to be this huge, surge of notifications going to superintendents or whoever the powers may be, with parents saying, hey, my child will not be attending, public school this year. I plan to homeschool, whatever the requirements are for your state.
Yeah.
And I am thinking it's going to be a huge increase, and I think they're going to be overwhelmed. And I'm saying this because if this is what anybody plans to do it now and do it as soon as possible. Because what's going to happen is once there is an increase of people doing this, especially if they find this increase is among Black and brown people, they're going to switch up the laws and requirements on you in terms of what requirements you have to meet in order to do that. For the most part, from what I've seen, I've looked up those laws in a few different states, and they're pretty simple, very simple. The steps are very simple. But what I think they're going to do is to try to make it more and keep those who have less resources, aka Black and brown people, from doing this. So if you go ahead and then grandfather everyone else, because if they don't grandfather it, it's going to affect the white people that are already doing this. So what they'll probably do is grandfather, the laws and the requirements that are already in place. Now, I'm really convinced this is what is going to happen. And I'm really convinced that they are pushing, people to go back to school because they do not want Black folks to take power and control of educating our own children. So they are trying to force us and push us to putting these kids back in school, so it doesn't seem like so much of an option as it is right now. Because even with kids learning virtually from their teachers, parents are heavily involved with it because they're learning from home. And that gives parents more power in terms of how their kids are educated. And I think parents are using more outside resources than before. And those outside resources are overwhelming at this point. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there is so much information and so many resources out there now in terms of homeschooling, just online resources, education, textbooks, and everything that's out there right now. And I think it's all about the government, maintaining control of educating our children and the school to prison pipeline.
Yeah. So guys, look, you know what it is. I know maybe doing homeschool or teaching them at home may not have been comfortable, but I think you guys know what this is. I think y'all see what this is. And I think it's time for us to act accordingly. It's like, we need to be like, nah, we cool. We got it from here. Thank you. I think there were a lot of parents that never even tried homeschooling and then found out like, oh, I can do this. Oh, okay, I can handle this.
Yeah. Now,
you know what I'm saying? They've at least gotten the experience of being like, oh, I can do this if I really wanted to.
Yeah. Now, we're saying that, and to be fair, I am already a stay-at-home mom. So, so I understand for those households where both parents are working, it can be very difficult. to figure out, well, how in the world are we supposed to homeschool when both of us have to work? And I'm not sitting here, being crazy enough to say it's easy, but what I'm saying is, because of where we are in terms of the pandemic, there are a lot more resources out there, and there are a lot more other people probably thinking what you're thinking at this time, and it's probably just a good time to get together with others and reach out to others and say, hey, is this something you're interested in? How can we get together and do this? I know there are a lot of groups just alone on Facebook that I've seen, homeschooling Facebook groups that have popped up. I just think the opportunity is really out there to reach out to people and really do this.
Yeah, so guys, we laid it out there for you. You might already be thinking about it. Your friends might be thinking about it, something like that. I think it's worth seriously considering, because the system don't mean nothing good for your children. You already know that. And now you're talking about a pandemic situation as well. So just seriously consider it. Big shout out to Jenna James said, yeah, both my parents work. My dad is a surgeon. My mom is a lawyer. So it would be hard for them back in the day. But that's when you got to reach out to aunts, uncles. Thank you. Yes. And that's what we're talking about, finding a co-op. Just because both your parents work, or say you and your wife or you and your husband work, does not mean that maybe your sister isn't working, or maybe a friend of yours has a stay-at-home husband or mom, and then they can teach you, your kid, and theirs, or something like. There's always ways to work something out if you want it. People always find a way to get what they want. And what we should want these days is taking control of the education of our children.
Yeah. And I also say, guys, I know here in California, they actually, if you homeschool your kids through a charter school, what happens is you are actually given a stipend every school year. I think it's a few $1,000s every school year that goes towards anything that you need for education, whether it be supplies, whether it be actual classes, whether it be going to a center to take for your kids to do classes with other kids that are homeschooled. And I don't know if California is the only state that does that. I know there aren't many, but that might be something you want to do in your research, is to look up if in your state something like that is available. And just because you go through a charter school does not mean you have to use a specific curriculum. They have a variety, a large variety of curriculum for you to choose from. So that's something else to look into.
So yeah, guys, keep your eyes up. Use them Googles for good. Now, moving on, in what I would consider a slight diversionary tactic, and definitely something that I'm like is important to talk about, is the article that came out saying Angela Davis is voting for Biden, but you think you are too revolutionary for that. Before I get started, I know who Angela Davis is. I know what she's done. And this is about discussion and discourse, but not disconnect. Disagreeing does not always mean disconnect. First, you have to be careful in an article like this that comes from testset.io, where it says, but you think you're too revolutionary for that. It's already a combative. Yeah, it's already combative in the title. But I'd like to go into the idea of trying to use our older activists or older celebrities to try to make a mark on or decide what we should do as a people here on the ground. Angela Davis has already had her fight. Angela Davis has already had her time. For us to try to push her into continuing to fight, or even representing, in this article, representing something for the fight for revolutionary or being revolutionary, is maybe a reach that I don't think we should put on her. also, when it comes to the age group of Angela Davis and that crowd, I would argue that when Angela Davis was our age, our mean like 30s, 20s, 30s, 40s, when she was our age, she didn't allow people that were her age at that time direct where they were going to go in their fight, in their movement. There's a lot of stuff that's the same. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of stuff that's the same. But in saying that, there's a lot of things that have changed in the way that we have to fight what we're going through. And asking for specific tangibles in a vote is one of those things that we are asking for. In general, not every single black person, but in general. And there has been this kind of idea that we have to vote for someone, or we have to vote for Biden. We need to have anyone but Biden, because if we have Trump again, it's going to be, everything is going to be the end of the world. And we have been served this before, mind you, when Hillary was running. If we get Trump, the world's going to end. Well, now, I would say that in the corona timeline, we are not in the best situation, but the world's not over. And actually, I'd submit to you that since we've survived, Nixon, Lyndon B. Johnson, Reagan, Bush 2, now Trump, we shouldn't, since we have proof that we have survived those people, those administrations, those bad actors, that maybe we shouldn't be so easily moved to just vote for someone because someone else is bad. I'm not against voting, but I am very weary of jumping out of the frying pan into the fire, knowing what we've gotten or haven't gotten for our collective votes, especially in modern history. And when I say modern history, I say from the 90s until now, probably. The last 30 or so years.
So what's the answer, Sway?
So what the answer I would say is to let Biden feel this pressure that he's feeling by not getting the black vote, and then not get the black vote, and then show Democrats what happens when they try to tiptoe around and not give us, or even be serious in addressing the tangibles that we are demanding.
Do you think there's any danger, though, so are you suggesting that black people just don't go out and just don't vote? Or are you suggesting people vote for Trump? What are you suggesting?
What I'm suggesting is that we do vote, but we refocus our efforts. And what I mean by refocusing our efforts is when we vote, focus our efforts more, more seriously and more intently on grassroots local elections. Way more important at this time. And then from those grassroots votes, keep on and continue the pressure of protest. I believe that in the last 2 months or so, we've gotten more through protest, considering, law enforcement, that we've gotten voting in a very long time. I got you off right now, just in case. So I'd say that when talking about those votes and talking about voting, it might be easier or better. No, not easier. Better for us to focus on the local elections in our area, the statutes, the different localities of what's going on with your school board, what's going on with your streets, the public transportation, the city council, the mayor, the Senate, the governor, those kind of things. Whether they're going to put a hospital here, or whether they're going to put, a football stadium there or something like those things, I believe are more important to us on the ground every single day, as opposed to being kind of in this tug of war and this push and pull of being scared of, well, here's You don't want the Trump administration. Be scared. Go and vote for Joe Biden. But the thing, go ahead.
The thing is, though, I understand what you're saying, and I totally agree. Local elections are more important to our daily lives, but it's not an either or. It's not either voting locally or. So I guess my question is, what are you suggesting people do in terms of the presidential election?
Oh, I already said it. Don't vote.
Okay, that's what I asked you.
I said it. I said, don't worry about that and focus on your local elections. Don't focus on anyone that is not addressing your tangibles in a very real way. And what I mean by that is, if they don't come through this black street and say this is what black people are getting, then you ain't got our support, period. You're going to have to go get it somewhere else. And until they learn, that's the only way. Because think about it. They haven't learned by getting our vote. They haven't learned by coming to our churches, by coming to our community centers, and then getting that vote out. They haven't learned that way.
No.
Now we see a lot of heat coming, and we got a lot of people writing articles like, oh, Joe Biden might be worried. He might not have the black vote. He blew that. A lot of people are saying, well, Joe Biden, it was 25 years ago that he made the crime bill, and haven't you evolved over 25 years? What if I called something out that you did from 25 years? Somebody framed that to me. And I said, well, yes, I would be wrong if I did not evolve enough to have the wisdom to say, you know what? That was a bad idea. It wasn't a good decision. I shouldn't have done it. And in my presidency, I will be repealing that and removing that. But that has not been what we have gotten. Then I would go further to talk about Joe Biden's lift every voice, the Biden plan for Black America. Now, there's a lot of stuff up there. So I know you're probably like, man, what are you talking about? Well, of course, I went on that page. I clicked Control Find and I searched for reparations. I want to read you. This is from Biden, not me. Tackling systemic racism and support a study for the continuing impacts of slavery. What do we need to support a study for? There's no study needed. We have documentation on top of documentation of what slavery has done.
They have surveyed and studied and hearing and committed us out.
So now what you want me to do, by using Angela Davis's name and her and the energy and atmosphere she brings, what you're trying to do is get me to vote for someone that does this. Let me read. We must acknowledge that there can be no realization for the American dream without grappling with the original sin of slavery and the centuries-long campaign of violence, fear, and trauma wrought upon African American people in this country. As Biden has said in his campaign, a Biden administration will support a study on reparations. What does that even mean? Support a study? So what, y'all gonna have a meeting? I support. He didn't even say we'll have a meeting. He said I support having a meeting. But let's continue on. Biden will begin on day one of his administration to address the systemic racism that persists across our institutions today. That's why he developed education, climate change, and healthcare policies, among others, that will root out systemic racism and ensure that all Americans have a fair shot at living the American dream. Here's the problem with that. Once again, just like every other politician, I'm not saying Joe Biden is worse than any other politician, but what I'm saying is, if you want us to treat you like you're above any other politician, you got to do something different. This is the vague stuff that anyone else has ever said to black people throughout the years that we've ran and voted for, and look at what we've gotten. I'm not a Democrats are bad or Republicans a bad guy. What I'm saying is, until you come to us with something real, I don't care what banner you're under.
Yeah, it's that carrot on a stick that they've been giving us for the longest time. We're going to talk about reparations. We acknowledge and we're going to have a study.
We're going to talk about it.
And then we perk up.
We're going to have a meeting about the meeting.
Yeah, we perk up because it's like, oh, really? What?
Oh, they're hearing us.
They're hearing us.
They're listening.
And but you know what? Part of that is our fault because all we want to do is be heard.
Yeah.
We've said that for the longest, and they're like, Cool. We'll hear you. Okay, we heard you. Now on to the next. And so that's what they're giving us. And it goes right along with them doing everything else except what we told you to do. Ain't nobody ask you to rename a street. Ain't nobody ask you to paint Black Lives Matter on the street. Ain't nobody ask you. We didn't even really ask you about with these statues, but we kind of just roll with it because it's like
want qualified immunity.
Yeah, it's like now that you are pulling down the statues, you know what? Cool. We need to do that too. Now that you are finally renaming some of these schools that we did in the past ask you about. Cool. We'll roll with it because that needs to be done too. But that ain't what we asked you to do.
Yeah, that's not what we're asking for.
That's not making a difference in
our lives
and our children's lives in the manner that we need.
Yeah.
And ain't what we asked you to do.
And I am so in this, I disagree with the idea that we need to just vote for Biden because he's not Trump. But I will bring up, she has a quote in here. Let me see if I can dig it out real quick. Where's the quote? She says, man, I cannot find the exact quote, but she makes a case basically saying like, yo, look, right now we're facing something unprecedented, and basically we gotta make this move. We gotta, she says, what do you know? What is it? Where's it at? It doesn't have her full quote in here, but if you check it out, they have like this link to a podcast, which I can't play because I'm not trying to get it taken down. But I understand where she comes from, and I've been in a conversation on Facebook with some folks that I understand where they're coming from. Like someone says, someone told me, no politician is perfect. I'm not making excuses for his past, but we both have evolved over the years, have we not? Is it fair to continue to judge you by the actions you did towards someone 20 years ago? I would argue yes, if that person has not gotten to the point where they can admit that what they did was wrong.
Right.
I would argue yes, still hold it against them. There is a difference, and that's the nuance that people are missing in this current cancel culture. If I did something 10 years ago and it was under today's, under today's sociological standards, it's wrong. And someone says, hey man, you did this 10 years ago. One side, I'd say, well, dude, that was 10 years ago, but I don't agree with that no more. I don't do that anymore. Boom. That's me saying, one, you can't hold me to today's standards, but under today's standards, I realize that's wrong and I don't do it anymore. So, once again, I would submit for Joe Biden to get my vote, he would have to come out and unequivocally say, when I'm president, the crime bill is gone. We're rolling back all of that. Qualified immunity is gone. And I'd also say that not only are we studying reparations, no, we are earmarking X amount of dollars for reparations for Black people, for descendants of slaves. The end. You give me that? Cool. We can talk. Until then, this all lives matter kind of policy where it's like, oh, we'll just make policies for everybody. And, if we make policies for everybody, then, Black people will benefit a little bit, right? No, I can't go with that. I can't roll with that. I can't ride with that. We've been falling for that for way too long. I'd submit that we went through 8 years where we thought we were going to get something. And the person that had 8 years had us believing, well, you know what? He is doing stuff for everybody, guys. We're going to get something too. You just wait. And sad to say, we ain't really getting nothing. So I'd say, my Black people, don't fall for it no more. Protest, keep protesting. Walk down those streets, block those streets. If you can't protest, donate to protesters that are being locked up so they can be bailed out. Buy Black, make sure that you keep that finance, let the dollar circulate, and continue to support Black media that continues to contextualize properly what's going on in these campaigns. People like thought crimes, or myself, or a bunch of people in the B1, like, Professor Truth or something like that. People that continue to ring that bell of like, yo, guys, listen, just because this person says he's cool with y'all doesn't mean he's cool with y'all. So that's where I am on the Angela Davis thing. I think that Angela Davis is sort of being used in a way, not saying that she's like someone told her to do something, but somebody was like, oh, she's saying Biden, cool, Biden can use this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, no qualified immunity gone, no true police reform, no defunding the police, no reparations, no crime bill rollback. I don't want to hear nothing from Biden. That's me personally. And remember, voting is a personal choice, always. But big shout out to Panda in the house. What up, Panda? Nice to see you. Big shout out to that gray statue, though. Shouts to Jenna James. Shouts to Jamal Lee for the super chat. What up, what up, what up? Always good to have you roll through. But yeah, it's one of those things where voting is personal and you have to make it personal for you. It has to be about what you want. But there are certain things that I think as a people that we should not force each other to do, but at least force each other to consider before we do whatever we personally do. And I think one thing that we need to consider is the fact that we have been jumping from the frying pan to the fire and have gotten nothing for it, but have been told that, hey, you're voting for us, so you're making a difference.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I know, and different people have talked about this. I know we need, as Black people, we need to be on the same page. And following, I don't want to say the same steps, but like in line with our goals and what it is that we're going to do together, just like with the whole blackout day, they were like, this is only going to work if we do it all together. Yeah. But I think with this, this is a very different situation. We've never, I would like to say, and I've heard, older people in my family say this, so I'm safe in saying it. We've never had a president like this in office before. Not one like this.
Closest might be before. Closest was probably Nixon.
Well,
with the corruption and stuff.
From like talking, to other older people, they're like they've never seen anything like him. Word. Before, and so it's a little bit different in terms of that, and it's like, like I was saying, Biden seems to be a lesser evil in terms of his character. He literally not even literally he seems to be a lesser evil. And so I know usually it's like we need to be on the same page as a people, but again, this is something that's very different. I don't know if everybody has the general consensus that we need to vote for anybody but Trump, because given what you've talked about, the issues are with Biden is I don't know if Trump has put anything in place that has harmed us directly as Black people, like Biden has put into place that has directly harmed us as Black people. It's
a different type of racism from both of them. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden's racism is mostly policy based.
Right.
Trump's racism is mostly kind of ideological and platform based. So he's going to get people on the streets riled up to be like, yeah, we hate Black people too. And yeah, police, go out there and beat up people. And, you should be like the military men of the world or something. And he's just getting people fired up. The dude isn't really governing anyone. But that's the problem. In trying to jump between these lesser of two evils, we've still got nothing but evil. And even for people that have said that, because in the conversation I've heard that the lesser of two evils is an old quote. But the bottom line is, if we're going to jump from white supremacy to white supremacy, then what we got? We still got white supremacy. Is it different? Yay? But as someone who seems to have ignored us and then mocked us in this campaign, I'd say, are we really that far from a Trump administration? Can we guarantee? Do we really even know Joe Biden as a president or as a political actor? All we know about him really is, yo, you was the vice president. You got out of the limo with a scarf looking cool. That's all we really know. And if we go by his record, which is all we have to go by, looks mad suspect. And if the Democrats or if any side can continue to win by just playing like, yo, they're worse, pick us, we're always going to lose. Sometimes you have to remove yourself from the game. And I think this is a perfect time to do that when both sides are actually hurting and could really use our Black people support, and removing ourselves from the game and say, look at what happens when you don't address us properly and respectfully. And then maybe we'll get a different result, because just voting because someone's bad hasn't given us the results that we wanted. So for me, my answer is don't vote for them at all. Focus on your local elections and focus on protesting or the protesters. You know what I'm saying? You can donate to the protesters. You can be out there on the streets yourself. You can represent or support Black media that continues to keep ringing that bell on the political process, on people that are out there in the streets and helping to contextualize when your traditional media will hurry up and try to paint with a broad stroke. Like, look at these people burning down stuff. And only Black media was like, those are white people burning things. Black people weren't burning those things. And honestly, if they were, well within their right. But I submit to you that you would never get that kind of coverage if you didn't have Black media ringing that bell. So yeah, if he doesn't address like defunding the police, reparations, stuff like that, I ain't got nothing for him. Big shout out to Panda. Panda says Trump's a grifter bigot, but I'm sure he's practicing gentrification, and Biden actually practiced systemic racism. Both are terrible. Sorry. So yeah, it's kind of like what you want, really. But speaking of reparations, good news, everybody. We've got them. All right. No, we don't have them. But North Carolina town votes to pay reparations to Black residents. Now, if you hear that,
clickbait.
If you hear that, you're like, oh, snap, son, we did it. We did it. North Cackums, North Cackalack. We did it, baby. North Cackalack came with reparations. Yes, this is the start of it. It's going to be an avalanche. All states are going to follow. Then the federal is going to follow. It's going to be crazy. We're going to have money, y'all, to be able to right the wrongs of the past. Yeah. Well, the Asheville City Council issued a formal apology for its participation in and sanctioning of the enslavement of Black people. That's nice. Okay, so what else you got? Unfortunately, the Asheville City Council voted 7-0 in a favor of issuing what the city considered reparations. Again, what the city considered reparations. What does the city consider reparations? I got you off just so you know. What does the city consider reparations? I wonder. Issuing a formal apology for its participation in the sanction and enslavement of Black people. Hundreds of years of Black blood spilled that basically fills the cup we drink from today, said the city councilman Keith Young, one of two African-American members of the body and Measure's chief proponent. I wonder if I'm related to him. He is in Carolina. Last name is Young. I might be related to that brother. I don't know. Look, don't be messing up my name, man. Look, hey. All right. As part of the resolution, city leaders in Asheville have also called on North Carolina and the federal government to provide funding for reparations. The resulting budgetary and programmatic priorities will include, quote, strategies to grow equity and generational wealth, closing the gaps in healthcare, education, employment, and pay, neighborhood safety, and fairness within criminal justice. Sounds great, right? Sounds awesome. Well, it's not money.
Yeah. So let me jump in on that right there. So again, a lot of that is vague also. A lot of that is vague. It's like we're going to we're going to work to.
We're going to make some programs.
We're going to make some program. That is that's not a reparation. That's not a reparation. That's like you go to the store and they say, okay, that's going to be $20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to work to and try to figure out how I might maybe get you this $20. No.
But can I have this now?
No.
Man.
Y'all know what reparations is. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
I take that
when
back.
It comes to black
that
people,
back. I'm not going to say I don't know why.
Well, we know why.
Right.
Because
so when it comes,
all things being equal, history has shown when black people are on even halfway a equal footing, that we outperform our white counterparts all the time. So much so that they have to either tear down our neighborhoods or burn them down or come and slaughter us or something to that effect. Especially when we're just leaving them alone. That's why they want to keep the money out of our hands. I'm like, where's the check at? Programs.
Yeah, because y'all know what reparations are. You know,
they have reparations is money followed by land. The end. That's it. It won't harm. Native Americans just got a half a state.
No, they didn't.
Well, they were told.
They acknowledged they should have it.
They acknowledged they supposed to have half a state. I don't know if they're going to get it, but we'll see, because the U.S. government be lying. But I don't see why they think we don't see it. Like, I think they think we don't see what they doing. Like, we supposed to be happy. Like, oh, snap. Reparations, y'all. Oh, yeah. Word, when am I getting the money? Well, technically, what we gonna do is make some programs for you. Programs? What, like on TV? Nah, we gonna have programs in the city for you. Well, what if I don't need them? Well, they'll be available for people that are black and brown and black. What is it for me? What are you doing to repair what has been done to the descendants of slaves? Not immigrants. Not tripping on y'all, but people, whenever it comes, whenever it's black and brown, black, all of a sudden it'd be mad Latinx people getting stuff, and black people be like, hold up, where our part at? No. Reparations is about money, followed by land. Money and land. Not money or land. Not money and or land. Money first, land second. That's what it is. The end. I don't want to hear nothing else. I don't want to hear no programs. I want to hear no programs. We talking about programs? Okay. So, Madame Buddha Pie?
Butterfly?
I ain't look. I'm like, Madame, look, hey, don't be come up here with your special spellings. All right. So she's like, yo, reparations can't be anything short of closing the 400-year Head Start gap. Yes, but we have to be very, very specific, because what some white people would say is, well, this program closes that gap, and you should thank us. No, you got to be like, it's money and land. That's it. I want money and land. Big shout out to Panda going back on the Joe Biden tip. Said, actually, on paper, Biden is worse. That crime bill has done more harm than probably anything Trump has ever done to the black folks specifically. Yeah. So, it's very it's just very interesting how they're going to play this. And I really interested to see how this plays out. I think Trump gets another term, but we'll see what happens. Eggman Rocks Cultures says, how a race supposedly so advanced, like the black race was so advanced, how they let super low advance, like the white race conquer you. Oh, snap. Eggman in the house dropping trolls on him. Somebody in the chat will handle you. Don't even worry about that. But it's nice to see you come through. Thanks for helping out with the concurrent viewers. Nice to see you. Good to see you. Look at him. Look at him. Looking all good in your profile picture. So, back what I was saying. Reparations is all about money, cut that check, and land. That's it. I don't want to hear nothing else at all. Ain't even going no further. North Carolina talking about programs. But this is the kind of thing that, usually will happen, and you'll get a lot of headlines up and you'll get a lot of people talking about what reparations should be. Unfortunately, and I got you off. Unfortunately, the conversation about what reparations should be is now in the hands of people that ain't gonna get it no way. It's like, bruh, come on now. So y'all gonna decide what it should be? Bruh. So anyway, shouts to Jenna James said, nah, I prefer Stacey Abrams or Susan Rice as our VP. I don't think you're gonna get it. I won't say never gonna get it. I won't say that, but I don't think you're gonna get it. Jenna James said, mind me, I'll get him out of here. Yo, man, I'm like, look, shouts to Boogsworthy late, but cut that check. That's right. Cut that check. So just so we're all on the same page, reparations, because I don't know, North Carolina, if you're listening, North Carolina, Keith Young, you might be related to me. I'm not sure. Keith Young, you out there? Reparations is money and land. That's it.
And I prefer the money.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Money is preferable.
Yeah, money is first. Money is first.
But I'm saying preferable because y'all gonna give us this piece of land that y'all already plan on putting a pipeline through that's gonna bust and tear up all the land. We see how y'all did the Native Americans. We see how y'all did. And look, just don't be giving us some little raggedy piece of land that's gonna cost us more money to take care of. I know how y'all do.
Oh man, yo, Eggman Rocks Culture. He trying up in here, y'all.
Just
he trying hard.
Just move on.
So anyway, with that said, y'all know what reparations is. Cut that check. We need that money. I don't care about no programs that y'all gonna make that's going to end up kind of like helping everyone else except us. Because what'll happen is y'all will make a program, and then when you make the program, you won't make us aware of the program. So people that'll be basically, eating off of this program will be people that aren't us. So ain't nobody trying to hear it.
Yep.
Then
you'll say, I don't know what happened. We created the program and they didn't take advantage of it.
So ain't nobody trying to hear that. Oh man. So yeah, let me go on. Boom. Let me go on. Hit. All right, Jenna James. Jenna James got the power right now, so I'm gonna go on and get her the power. Lastly, I did want to talk about some semi-good news, some news in a sort of semi-good direction. Ahmaud Arbery's murderers have been denied bail. So they're still in police custody. They're still in jail, which is a good thing. It's a step, guys. You know what I'm saying? It's a step. Yeah, I ain't saying it's everything, but it's a step in the right direction. We're still working on that thing with Breonna Taylor. We're still pushing. We're still struggling and striving to get her recognized to where these people can get arrested and charged and jailed.
Yeah.
But
and guys, don't,
just keep pushing. We cannot stop our momentum. I know remember, this is a marathon. All right? Yeah. We came out the game strong.
And don't think that
get your drink of water and keep moving.
Yeah, and don't think that protests aren't still going on. They are. It's just they've lost, the media seems to have lost interest. for some reason at this point, but I know for sure here in LA they are still going on. I'm sure they are in other cities.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some people posting like, oh, it's not, trending anymore, and it's like, okay, maybe it's not trending like it was before, but trending on Facebook isn't the end all be all, direct reflection of what is still going on.
Yeah, because Facebook is not the world. Even though sometimes we might believe that Twitter is the world or Facebook is the world, it's not. So it's like we got to remember that this stuff is still going on and continue to push and continue to support. Shouts out to Tiffany Little in the spot. Good to see you. Tiffany Little says, I need a clause in those reparations. You know how they kept reneging on the Native Americans. Yeah, I will say that. They be like, yo, Native Americans, here, this your land right here, it's all yours. Then they be like, then about 50 years later, they be like,
oh, you remember that land I gave you? Yeah, I need that back.
Remember that land? Like 10 years or so later, they be like, remember that land we gave you? We're going to take about 10-15% of that back. We're going to need that. So, yeah, that's why I said money first, land second. Because if we get the money first, when they try to take back some of that land, at least we'll have the money to either A, fight against it, or B, protect ourselves against it, or C, get other land somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So money first, cut that check. I don't want to hear it no more. Y'all have the system in place to cut checks. We've seen it in the stimulus checks from Bush, from stimulus checks from this year. Y'all got the ability to do it. Y'all got your ability to put your hands on trillions. Because we saw earlier this year, y'all got your hands on trillions of dollars. Easy. You know what I'm saying? Business getting all kind of money. Cut the check. I'm tired I don't want to have no more meetings about it. I don't want a congressional hearing. I don't want to see no black actors and celebrities and writers. Yeah. We don't need no studies. We need you to cut the check. Period. Let's see. Boozworthy says, also watch what's happening in Portland, Oregon. It's insane. So I'm not up on that. I'm gonna have to check that. Shouts to Jenna James says, yeah, and Black Twitter, things are trending are Nick Cannon. Oh boy. Tamar Braxton's suicide attempt. What? and Tory Lanez and Meg Thee Stallion. Yeah, don't be distracted. Like, don't get me wrong. You can take a commercial break from the real world, but none of those. Nick Cannon might be semi-important due to the ramifications of the industry that Nick Cannon has sort of become. But Tamar Braxton is and Meg Thee Stallion, I'm not like, oh snap, what happened? Meg, alright? You know what I'm saying? Not saying I want her to get hurt, but I'm just like, you're not going to get a where's Ja moment out of me for Meg Thee Stallion. Big shout out to Boozworthy, of course, for following up with you, talking about like protests are still going on in DC. They're still going on here in Los Angeles. So guys, keep fighting, keep supporting those that are fighting. And you can support those by supporting Black media, like myself, like many other like myself, supporting people on the front lines by either donating. Be careful where you donate to when it comes to Black Lives Matter. But there are also other organizations that work with just handling their bail fees and stuff like that you can donate to as well. But yeah, be very careful, because Black Lives Matter as on the organizational side it seems like there's some murky stuff. So just be vigilant and do your research.
Do your research, ask questions. Speaking of that, I sent a direct message to Black Lives Matter, the Los Angeles chapter.
Yeah.
I sent a direct message to them asking them to confirm if blacklivesmatter.com is one of their official sites, because when I first visited that site, it looked very much like it was built and run by the Democratic Party.
Yep.
When I went to that site sometime again, maybe a month later, if that, the site looked very different, and they answered me and told me that it is indeed the national site for Black Lives Matter. Do your own research. Just do your own research. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? Do your research on that one, because I'm not here to dog out, because you never get me to say that Black Lives Matter is a bad thing, because Black Lives Matter is a very good thing. And it's similar to what you sent to me, you know, as far as the statement that was made on the image that was sort of like a meme that you sent around that I saw as well, that I was like, yo, it's a good point, where you're like, yo, Black Lives Matter because all didn't cover black when y'all said all men are equal. Black Lives Matter because all didn't cover black when y'all said with liberty and justice for all. Black Lives Matter because y'all still struggling with the definition of all. So that's why I'm like, I'm definitely down with that. And you're never going to see me out here coming for them. I just want you guys to be very vigilant about where your money goes to, and make sure your money is going to people that are on the ground doing the real work. So with that said, shouts out to those that are protesting, doing those things, because without these protests, without these people pushing, without, you know, folks like you supporting them on the back end, we wouldn't have gotten the things that we've gotten with defunding the police in, not everywhere, but places like LA are defunding the police. New York is sort of trying to act like they're defunding the police. Not exactly. Minnesota is doing a huge, like Minneapolis is doing a huge shift on how they're policing. So I'm really interested to see how these things go and how they play out. And we wouldn't be able to get there without that push, without that pressure that we got going on, and we gotta keep supporting it. So with that said, shouts out to the chat, because we are at time, which is a good thing. You know, we made it. We made it to another Friday. I'm glad y'all came through. Got Alan Lewis in the chat, Markeith Collins, Cooley High, VV, what up? Jenna James always coming through with the love. Shouts to Jenna James. Blurtish, shouts to y'all. Madam Butterfly, Panda, shouts to Panda, one of the Patreon supporters. Jamal Lee as well, one of the Patreon supporters. Tiffany Little. Let's see, who else we had? Boogsworthy, dope. Yeah. So all y'all, man, y'all the bomb. Y'all dope. You know what I'm saying? Glad to get y'all in here and hold y'all down. It's nice to have y'all in the spot. It's always nice to have y'all. So with that said,
My baby.
Lisa, tell them peace.
Bye, y'all.
All right. NERDSoulite, say peace.
Peace.
All right. So guys, with that said, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all them places. YouTube is the hub. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up if you like what you're seeing. Hit that thumbs down if you don't. But if you don't like what you're seeing, I'm going to send Trump after you. And you ain't going to like that. Oh, he going to be all in your dreams? Yeah. So, of course, podcast, Spotify, check a brother out. And from me to you, thank you for chilling with us, because look, you could be anywhere in the world. But you're here with me. With that said, shouts to Arcatron, ARCKATRON, the Space Bridge in stores right now. I'm going to leave you with a dope joint from him, because, yo, Arcatron is straight flames and he got them beats. So from us to you, just thank you for watching, and peace, 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 y'all. Oh, man.